Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Insights from a Headhunter LinkedIn Live. I'm very happy to have our guest, Annette Richmond, with us today. She's a professional resume writer from New York, and she's also, she has worked with recruitment, so she knows how to write a resume that gets results. So welcome, Annette. Please tell me a little bit more about yourself.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you for the invitation. I'm so excited to be here with you. I think of the whole process that I do with my clients as really helping them build their executive brand and the resume, LinkedIn profile, the banner behind the profile. It's all part of that branding. And so that's really what I do with my clients.
Yeah, so it's so much more than just writing the resume. It's a consulting, and you go so much deeper into finding the strengths of the people that they might not be aware of, and highlighting them.
It's true. As you know, it's all about telling the story. It's not just about putting words on the page. It's strategically knowing what to include, knowing what not to include is just as important. I think you would agree.
Exactly. So I wanted to dive in and get the tips. So people who are thinking about creating starting a job search in 2022, so that they can take the tips and update their resume, because it happens so often, and I'm guilty of that as well. So when I started my career, I made a CV, and I've been updating it ever since. And so many things have happened since that. And I see daily CVs that look like they come from the same time period. And you don't want to make the first impression with a CV that looks like, yes, from the past.
Exactly, exactly. I still see that too. I see people, and I'm sure you see this. They get their resume when they graduate from college and they have their education at the top. And now it's 10 years later and they still have the education at the top. And or they're using a font like Times New Roman that nobody uses anymore, or the old AOL email that was really trendy. I remember having one years ago, but now it just makes you look, outdated, and kind of unsavvy. And it's just the format. While the content is really the most important thing, the format is what people see is immediately. As soon as they pick up that resume, they see the formatting. And if you have that outdated formatting, it just gives a bad impression. I mean, it's unlikely people would go to a job interview wearing the same outfit they wore 10 years ago, right? But they send out the same resume from 10 years ago.
That's such it really hits the bullseye. It's the best nugget from this conversation, because that really makes you realize that you shouldn't just go and add another position to their resume, but you should really take your time and um, make it yeah, up to date. You said Times New Roman. I see that a lot. Which one would you say would be 2022?
I think it's pretty much anything that's sans serif. The ones with the serif, like Times New Roman with the little tails, they used to be really popular, but now it's sans serif. I favor Calibri. I know a lot of resume writers I know use Calibri, Arial, just something that's a sans serif so that it's easy to read, and something that's not unusual, so it will be available to other people who will be picking up, reading your resume on their computer.
There is something that I wanted to ask you about resumes. Would you prefer a PDF format or Word document? what is your take on that?
So it's interesting. Sometimes the employer will tell you. So obviously, if they tell you, then give them what they ask for. My understanding is that the HES systems, the applicant tracking software systems that employers use, anyone with more than 50 employers uses some kind of a system. They're getting more and more sophisticated. And most are able to, I should say, many are able to read PDF formats. However, they're all, in my understanding, able to read Word. So I would say, when in doubt, use a Word document rather than a PDF.
Well, I think you said a very interesting thing there, that if in doubt, ask. Because
yes, that too.
because what happens with a PDF, you have the full control of how the document will look like. So I very often open the resumes on my phone. When I get the email, I open it on my phone, and sometimes it goes to places and it doesn't look the same depending on which version of the Word program you have. So you have to be really careful. And I would say for headhunters, I would prefer to have it in a PDF format. But like you say, it really depends, and make sure you send the right version. There are pros and cons, and you don't want to miss out just because the system can't read your CV.
That's a great point that you made that I did not mention. If you're sending it directly to someone, absolutely a PDF. If you're emailing it to someone, absolutely the PDF. And one of the problems with Word not opening, correctly, is that people don't know how to do the formatting. So they're not, anchoring the dates of employment to a tab on the margin. They're just tabbing things across. And if they're not using Word properly, that can create a big fat mess, as you describe.
Yes. There is something that I have seen as a headhunter, that it happened in reality. So I get a CV and I get several. So I'm using CV and resume as the same word, because here in Europe we use more the word CV. I print them out, and something happens. The papers fall on the floor, or there are several ones, and I have to put them together, and the person has not put their name on each page, and there are no page numbers. What do you say about that?
Well, I agree with you on that. I recommend that people put, you don't want to put important essential information that, an ATS system would want to read in the header or footer. However, I encourage people, and with my clients, I put their name and the page number in the top right-hand header of the second page, and their contact information, just the basics, email, LinkedIn profile, and phone number in the footer. And that way, as you say, the pages get separated, and that way, you are able to keep them together. So that's another good point.
And I have received CVs where there is no phone number. So that's also a very difficult one. So I had to go back to LinkedIn messages and ask for the phone number. If you're sending out your CV, it's because you want to be contacted, to be asked to go for an interview. So make sure you put your phone number there, and your phone number with the international country code, or with the plus if you're applying for a global position and the recruiters are in a different country. It just shows that you're aware of the cultural differences, and that you work in a global environment, that you don't assume that people know your country code, that you really adapt to that one as well.
Yeah, I think a lot of what we've been talking about so far is the idea of showing the recruiters or employers that you're aware, that you know what the format should be, that you know enough to include your phone number, that you understand pages can be separated, and just showing them that you kind of know what you're doing in the job search.
Exactly. So I have seen many videos that you have made on LinkedIn, and it's really very valuable tips for job seekers. And you talk about the STAR method.
So the STAR method is a very easy sort of a formula for putting together achievements for your resume and also for your LinkedIn profile. Because you and I have talked about this before, and it's all about, you have to show your achievements. You can't just have your resume read like reverse engineered job description, where you could just take it, change the words around, and use it as a job description, because you have to set yourself apart, and it's the achievements or results or impact statements, whatever you want to call them. And the STAR method is simply the situation, the task, the action, and the result. So, you talk about the situation, the challenge that you were facing, the task that needed to be done, and the actions that you took, and of course, the results. And that's a very, very simple way to tell your story on your resume, job interview, LinkedIn profile, wherever you are putting down your information. Because as job search is all about marketing yourself.
Exactly. Because there are people who have more experience, more skills, but you really have to show your motivation and how you will bring value to that specific position. So it's really important that you use the STAR method, and you can also use it later when you're going to interviews. When you get a question, answer it back with the same structure. So doing it first on paper, then you will be confident to do it also in the interviews.
And my understanding is a lot of the tech companies prefer to get the responses in that STAR method. Do you prefer that as a recruiter?
It's yeah, I prefer it, and especially for the hiring managers, they want the candidate to come to the point. They don't want you to go on and on and on and explain your whole CV, like reading your CV from the beginning to the end. We all can read, so this is not the point. So you have to come to the make it understandable.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I will just say hello to, we have live
Hi,
guests
Jillian.
here. Jillian saying hello from Las Vegas. Hi, Jillian. So great to see you. And in 2 hours' time, we will pop over to your LinkedIn Live. See you there.
Yes, absolutely.
And we have the wonderful teacher, Jeff Young, who is also doing so much work for job seekers. Check out his content. Jillian, what are your thoughts on using a virtual phone number? So I wonder if you mean WhatsApp number. That's
I'm not sure either what that means. I'm sure she'll tell us though.
Yes. So some kind of phone number where people can contact you. That's the purpose.
I have a friend of mine, several of my colleagues, and we always talk about making it easy, right? Making it easy for the recruiter, the employer to contact you. And I know this is not resume, but I always recommend people put at least their email address in the about section of their LinkedIn profile, so that people like you can contact them, rather than have to hunt around for it or send an email.
Yes, and sometimes when I send an email, I don't get a reaction because they get so many emails, and when you send a personalized subject section instead of email, then you get so much quicker reply. So that's a really good point. Yeah. And then we have
Hey,
Craig
Craig.
Langley. Hi, Craig. Thank you for coming. Jeff Young I thought job seekers the STAR method since 2004. It works. It definitely works. And it's so important that you do the reflection when you start talking about your achievements, that you realize what you did and that you put context. Because it's what's obvious to you is not obvious to the person who is talking to you. For them, it's all new.
Yes, exactly. And I have had some candidates that I've spoken to who say, well, I'll just tell them during the interview. And I'm thinking, well, if you don't tell them in your resume, it's on you, you may not get the interview. And it's all about the story. And as you say, the context. For example, you can be a salesman, and because I work with a lot of, sales rock stars, and they, salespeople often they'll say, I beat my quota 110%. I generated X number of dollars. But, how did you do it? Is that just because you had the hottest new product? Or is that because you were innovative? Like a client I worked with who worked in enterprise sales, who actually would go to new areas of town that were just kind of being developed and go to the new businesses there and sign them up before anybody else did to the phone system with his company. So, that's what shows, innovation, doing things that actually show your passion for the job, not talking about, oh, I'm innovative. Okay, how? Show us, tell us.
Yes. And I think also the way you deliver it, it's so important that when you talk about your achievements, that's where I see that the candidates, they show their passion. It's something where they took a risk, where they had a challenge, where they had to overcome something, and then the results paid off. So it's really that you come out from the like the robot mode, that you become alive and you connect as a person with the story to other people who also find it fascinating, because when you're excited about something and passionate, it shows in your body language, and that makes a difference in how you present yourself, because that's what companies are looking for. Somebody who would join the team, who would be the radiator there, who would give more and also help develop the others and be.
Yes. And people often too, as they're climbing and they're reaching, either they're in the executive level or they're, sort of targeting those roles, and they want to talk on their resumes and say, oh, I have leadership skills. But if you can actually talk about maybe someone that you worked with or that worked for you, and you trained them and mentored them and they became a rock star in their own right, that's leadership. It's not you having to say, oh, I'm a good leader. You're showing it, right? That's just really what it's all about.
And also when you can just say leadership skills, but other thing is when you put numbers behind it, how many people you led, how many were in the team, how many reported directly to you, and the virtual teams that were based in 3 different continents. Like put everything in the context, because that's what makes a difference. And those skills are very needed now that we're working mostly from remote or home offices nowadays. So if you have that, if you have done it for 10 years, that's something that's really interesting for companies.
And that takes it, as you say, that takes a different type of skill to manage people that are, that are not right there in the office with you, and to help them grow, on in their careers themselves. It takes a certain kind of skill. All those things are so important. And so often I work with clients and they don't realize how much they've really done until they do sit down, to put together those star stories. And then they look and they go, wow, I did that and I did that. And oh my, but people, it takes thought and it takes time to actually sit down and put those stories together, but so worth it, right?
I totally agree. And what is something that I appreciate is that when you work together with a resume writer like you, that it's a process, it's an interview. You go very deep, because there are other ones who just to the formatting for you and say it's done. And that's really, I have had interviews with people who had no clue what's written on their CV, and sometimes I get the same CV that I received 2 weeks ago, and I think, like, is it your twin? So you really shouldn't copy paste or outsource this work totally to somebody else, because it's so important that you sit down and work with it and really appreciate and say, like, well done.
That's so true. Every client, I speak to them before we work together, and I tell them, you have to give me the information, because I don't write fiction. So if I don't get the material from you, then the resume is not going to be something that sets you apart. And as well as I do, and we don't want to linger on this, but there are a lot of companies that are really cheap and really fast, and the resumes can be marketing director already ready to go and change a few things and send it out to that person. So you have to really, like you would when you're hiring a contractor to work on your home, you have to interview the people before you hire them, and look at the work that they've done, and look for maybe reviews or recommendations, and their professional development, and all those things. Have they been in the business for a while? Is that their business? Or were they selling insurance last year?
Yeah, with you having the recruitment background, what recruiters are looking for. So that's extra pair of eyes that will really help you to see it. So another thing that I was thinking about, when you write the resume, that people print it out. So sometimes leave space so that people can read it. Like, what is your take on the one-page resumes for senior professionals?
I don't, I don't recommend one page for senior executive. I would never write a one page for senior executive. The resume, you have to think about it like real estate, right? So you have, and you don't want to pack it so full that you cannot read it, or have margins less than 0.5 so that it doesn't print on the page, or the font size 0.9 because nobody can read. You want to have the time, the space to build your career story. So, I recommend 2 pages. That's what I do with my clients. If you have other information, if you've done a lot of speaking or publications, things like that, then you can just create like a 3rd page addendum to send kind of as needed. But I know people, I'm not sure why that still remains out there, the idea of the one-page resume. I don't think it works. I mean, do you?
If you're just recent graduate,
Oh,
then
yeah,
maybe, but for senior professionals, it just doesn't give me any meat on the bone. So I don't have any, like, how can I ask questions if you don't give me anything? I need more information. So
I love that, meat on the bones. I say that too. Yeah.
so we have I can't see who it is. It's a LinkedIn user. I'm happy you joined us. Gillian says Google Voice Phone. That's message only.
Oh, I
never received it.
I don't know. I mean, I use a Google phone number myself, but it does, ring. I can have it ring into my office on my computer or on my phone, and it's great for text messaging. So I'm, I don't know, Tina. What do you think of? I'm guessing if there is something where you can only leave a message, does that work for you?
I always want to talk to the person. So I leave a message if they're not there. So I would prefer a phone, and then in a later stage have a Zoom call, but I would prefer a phone to start with. And let's take the last question from Jeff Young. Ladies, what do you think is the key difference between your resume and your LinkedIn profile?
Okay. Do you want to start?
Well, I think there are some similarities, but they are two different things because when I get somebody's CV, I also go to their LinkedIn profile. So that one is completing the other. Like in the US, you wouldn't put a picture on your CV. In Belgium, you would put a picture. So it's much more than just a resume.
Yes, I agree. People have to think about it as more than the resume. And one of the things that always strikes me with the LinkedIn profile, if you have sending the resume or the CV, it may be something, as you say, you print it out. People may be sitting in a room looking at it, more than one person talking about someone. The LinkedIn profile is really more, kind of intimate. It's one person sitting looking at it on the screen generally. And it's a great opportunity for you to tell your career story, particularly in the about section. One of the things that I do with my clients is I ask them questions like, why did you go into, your career? How did you start? Where does this come from? And the information they give back to me can run anything from, well, I studied anthropology in college, and I use that. It helps me understand different cultures and put together marketing campaigns. Or my sister got a computer for as a gift, didn't use it. I picked it up and started writing software, and that's how I got into being in technology. And those are the kind of stories that I use in their about sections to give people kind of a snapshot. And of course, the banner is the same thing.
Yes.
It tells you a little bit about the person. And I think we'd agree. And I'd like to hear your take on the cover story.
Oh yes,
Yes.
cover story. It's really, I think the best way to connect with somebody is through video. Already the audio is great. You can hear someone's voice. The first time I call somebody, I can hear their voice. I can already picture them. I can hear if they are smiling. I can see or imagine the energy. If it really makes a difference, you connect. And when you see somebody on video, that's even better because that's normally what you will see in real life. So I really appreciate when people put the cover story, and also there is the audio version where you can record your name pronunciation. If you have a difficult name, like I have, give the option to others if they want to find out how it's pronounced. Put it on your LinkedIn next to your name. It's 10 seconds, but it really helps out others.
Yeah, and if you I heard this, I learned this from other people, not my idea, but if you don't have a name that's difficult to pronounce like me, you can use it for other things, just to say hi, thanks for coming by my profile. You just I think a lot of what the key is with LinkedIn is there are so many opportunities there between the about section, the cover story, headline, etc., that you need to use all of the opportunities that you have available to you.
Exactly. LinkedIn has evolved so much since the beginning. I've been on LinkedIn since 2005, when it was really a CV database. Now it's so much more, and the focus is on social. That's where you find opportunities. So be active there and share your knowledge. And it's not obvious for others, maybe for you. So let me just take the last comments. Gillian says, best line ever. I don't write fiction.
Thank
That's
you.
really,
Thank you,
really
Jillian.
true. And we have good evening, ladies from India. Jayan says, oh yes, video as a sales call is very impactful and also creates the factor of authenticity. Yes, that's so true, because it's really, you can see the person and connect with them.
Yes. And one other thing I'd like to add too is, you know what, use a headshot on LinkedIn that looks like you,
Yes.
right? So when someone meets you on video, they know that, they're not stunned.
Exactly. And even if you had your best video taken 10 years ago, we want to see you, how you look like now, because it's so important. So update it and also have a picture that is public, so that everyone can see you and connect with you. So the last thing that I wanted to mention, that's something that you can take away. Please go and take action. Sit down and think about it and write it down. So much powerful things, stories will come out if you just write them down. Not by thinking about it, but either talking to somebody or writing them down. So go to this link of Annette's website. There is so much valuable stuff that can help you, free career tools, and let us know how it went. We are very excited to hear about it and support you in the job search 2022. Would you like to say some final words, Annette?
I want to just say thank you so much for inviting me to be your guest today. We've chatted many times in other venues, and I'm just so happy to be here with you today. So thank you.
And thank you for coming. And it was Craig Langley, who will be on Gillian's LinkedIn Live in 1.5 hours, who introduced us. And it's all about networking, because you came with the stamp that she is credible, she's a wonderful person and excellent what she does. So if you need a resume writer, reach out to Annette. And I look forward to our next conversations and to meet you on your LinkedIn Live.
Thank you so 2022. Much. Here we go.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.